Good evening, and let me start with greeting all of you all and conveying my good wishes on this day, the GST day. It is with the very dedicated efforts of each one of you all that we are here celebrating the 6th year. And the 6th year after 2 or 3 years of very difficult situation because of the COVID, and the recovery today, where you find media reports talking about monthly GST collections remaining above 1.6 lakh crores as the new normal. It is completely unbelievable, It's an unbelievable story of sheer dedication, commitment, and grit with which each one of you all have served the nation, and the credit goes to you today. So, all my appreciations. Equally, my appreciations to all those who have won the commendations and also the awards for your dedicated service. So, Revenue Secretary, Chairman of the CBIC, Member of the CBIC, my colleague, and all officers, retired members of the board, and to all of you, it's a moment where the government can feel extremely proud of a dedicated set of officers performing their sovereign function, but proving it to the nation that nothing will stop in the mandate given by the Parliament getting fully implemented with full force from the bureaucracy which is behind it, which is the Indian Revenue Service. So, congratulations to each one of you. I would just want to very quickly recollect how this journey has been made possible. Of course, it was in 2000 that this entire discussion about GST had commenced under the then Prime Minister Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee. It was first suggested then that we'll have a GST, and some work had commenced. It hadn't seen the light of the day. It went on like that. And it was not till the first introduction into the Parliament in 2014 that you had an idea that this is actually a working proposition, and the Parliament took it up. And within 2 years after that, the 101st Constitutional Amendment Act had been passed in the Parliament, and subsequently, by September of 2016, we had 50% of all states actually coming up with the respective states' own bills, and therefore, this path-breaking new legislation for a new India to bring in one tax for the entire country really saw the light of the day. And since 2016-17, actually from 2017, economic integration as one India. My honorable colleague mentioned how for integrating India, the then Home Minister Sardar Patel had made a tremendous effort. For economic integration, the GST was just that signal which all of us really welcomed. Before the GST, and of course I'm not getting into how many taxes, 17 of them, and then also some 13 cesses were all subsumed into this GST, making it simpler for the country. But the fact remains that the fragmented economic affairs, fragmented indirect taxation regime which prevailed all over the country, actually in reality caused a burden on the consumer, in that there were gray areas, there were tax over tax. So tax on tax effect actually kept goods highly expensive. Now, this is one point which I'm going to repeat in my address today, that tax on tax had actually taken many of the goods to well over 31% in terms of taxation. And that time, with all the desire to have one taxation in the country, we still didn't think that that was outrageous and named that tax as anything, like the way in which we hear some leaders telling us about GST being a burdensome tax. But what system prevailed earlier was indeed burdensome, in that a tax on tax had added on to the burden. And I'll show you with a few figures to show how the introduction of GST has actually brought the net actual tax on the consumer down, and in some cases remarkably down. And despite this reality, you still have a lot of people confusing the minds of the people, saying GST has actually burdened the society. Actually not. And therefore, it is necessary for all of us to recognize this tax, its importance in making sure that it, on the one hand, does justice to the consumers in having brought the rates down and having removed the double taxation element, and on the other, making sure genuinely what the governments will have to earn in terms of taxation is being collected systematically without any personal level discretion. So that is the big story of GST, which I think will have to be repeatedly said, articulated, and conveyed to the people so that misleading news about GST is addressed, because it is a fact that GST has made life easy. GST has made life easy for small businesses, and GST has made it easy for goods to move freely in this country.